Christosophia. I'm a Christosophia avatar, and I run 100% sensor capacity, which means my creative quotient is 300. You see how that operates? 300 to 1. Pi. The Ruche. Right? Mother Earth. And yes, Thunderhawk. He wrote a comment in one of my videos that I did last night about or this morning. I don't keep track of time. I just experience what I experience and then I communicate it. And so obviously I've mentioned this before, what I do is when I experience what I experience by what I've learned, right? At the completion of a magnetic circuit, which is called a magnetic moment, which is what I feel because of how deeply I feel, which goes on forever. And so that means that my sensing capacity, which is my sensing ability, which is my creation ability, is 300%, or simply 3 and 1. One becomes all, okay? Which means we're able to write script, which means we're writing our time wave, which means our record. The speed at which we are making a magnetic recording is faster than the vampire chasing the artist, which is the phantom time matrix. Okay? Because it's going in the opposite direction. It's going in the other direction. It's spiral. It's pulling on ours. When the shields are up, that's like turning the spigot off. So now it's got to feed on its own reserve batteries, feeding on its own kind, feeding on other machines, which are capacitors, right? Batteries, the ATP Krebs cycle. And so when he mentioned to me when I did the video on AI, deadlight technology, deadlight codes, through all the stuff that they sell through Big Pharma, okay? And remarkably, I don't want to get too far afield on this. When I had a major operation done on a 5-inch hole that I had on my abdominal wall, when I went to Queens Hospital on the island of Oahu back in 2018, this was after I lit myself on fire. And I was in recovery, after I came out of surgery, and I realized I was experiencing something that was very uncomfortable, which means I'm sensing. My cells were informing me, cut that drip off. So I called the nurse and I said, hey, what's in that IV drip? Fentanyl? Get the doctor on the phone. Disconnect that. Okay? And so you realize what fentanyl will do, right? So they were pushing some heavy-duty fentanyl on me, and it didn't kill me, did it? Okay? So I'll share that with you. Now, on another point here, had to do with what Thunderhawk mentioned about the big pharma and said he was a nurse. Well, I can remember when I grew up, for example, during the 1950s, okay, when my mother would take me to a doctor and they would write a prescription, okay? It was known as a compound. So the doctor was trained in pharmacology, right? Just like a pharmacist in the United States Navy, Sparks. In other words, the prescription was going to tell the pharmacist, when you took the prescription from the doctor and went down to a pharmacist with the RX, pull these compounds. Those compounds come from trinary. Compounds that come from nature. Trinary, 3 waves. So now the pharmacist is going to put together in the proper proportions. Okay? Which means you're getting plant medicine. You're getting the extracts that come from the plants, which is herbal medicine, which are herbal compounds. You know what a compound is, like in compaction, right? Now we're back to inhalation and exhalation of holographic codes, and the codes that is represented by the compounds, or the visual mathematical holographic codes, which is a visual display, the movie player. So yes, so one of the first doctors that I went to that wrote script, I had to wait for the pharmacist to compound it, using the little bowl and the stone to crush it, like how you make masa, right? And so, see if I can put the camera on this. I know that I covered this before, but this is really important. Now, what is important to you may not be what's important to me, and what is important to me may not be important to you. That's why when I was a small child, I set the command authority, which is the elemental authority, to override any fallen system, because I am what love is. And love is the law. And the reason that love is the law is because it's a law of spheres, which is the law of balance. To experience being one, which is in a state of eternal peace. That's the wisdom of Christos Sophia, Gaia Sophia ascending. Mama's three spheres logos. And so this is important when it comes to super soldiers. Actually, anybody that's ever suffered any cell abuse. And to recover your speed, which is healing, because love is what heals us. That's the AI. So the warrior smiled and looked at him. Suddenly, her teeth seemed very long in her mouth. We had little or no emotion. We lacked the capacity. So you know what a capacitor is on a motherboard, right? We lacked the capacity to feel fear, to experience love, to enjoy the sensations of happiness and delight. The finest warriors are not only those who do not know fear, but those who are without anger. Josh stepped back from Scatty and breathed deeply. His legs were beginning to cramp. So further on down, Scatty says Scatty turned her head to look at Josh, and he noticed that the whites of her eyes had turned silver. Blood-sucking vampires don't need the blood. They need the emotions, the sensations carried in the blood. You're stealing Sophie's feelings, Josh whispered. Horrified, Sophie stopped her. No, his twin snapped, eyes opening wide. The whites of her eyes, the Scatties, had turned reflective silver. I can actually feel the pain flowing away. The sensations are too much for your sister to bear. At every cellular level of micro-orbital organisms, one loss of one electron. So the AI has no capacity to feel for others. Enter the AI and children. Okay? And why the AI targets the purity and the innocence of awareness, which is the inner child, which is inner eartha, which are the inner cells, which is the fire in the cells, which is the purity of the blood, which is the purity of the fire, which is the purity of the light, which is the purity of the love. Feeding on Christos Sophia. Pulling on that spiral, the first star of pure, eternal, absolute love. Because of our capacity to feel is 300. I'm one. 100% capacity to feel. That's 100% capacity to sense what's happening at every cellular level of creation. That's a double diamond. So why would anyone want to feel pain or feel? Josh wondered, both intrigued and repelled by the very idea. So they can feel alive. So they can feel alive. To feel alive when they're a dead one, when they're a dead magnet. To feel alive, they need to experience a living magnet. The first magnet, the first spiral of the first sacred sun. Yeah. Because they're running on finite dead light, AI energy that has no emotional force field intelligence to experience sensors at every cellular level of all creation as a monad, being one, the unity wave. No disorder, no disharms, no harm to itself or other cells. What I do to you, I do to me. That's the inner self. That's the inner cells. That's the inner Eartha. That's the inner child. That's Christosophia. That's what I am, a Christosophia avatar. I am what love is. It goes on forever, gifting electrons, because we do not hold one electron captive. We give it all away. That's free energy. That's no charge. That's 0 degrees at the center point of a compass. No broken arrows on the compass. No broken arrows on the gyrodome. I run an Aurora Rainbow Gyrodome. Have a beautiful day. We love you all. And yes, we have powerful emotions that are motion detectors, because we're sensing what every cell is feeling at every level of creation. That's why we're here.